Welcome, acolytes. Today, short for Tataku, of course. Dev wants to give communism one more chance. I'm gonna be honest. Ace, I hope this isn't clickbait. Right now, you always present facts and such. I love that. But for fuck's sake, if freaking Dev went the deep end, well, then it is what it is. Oh, and by the way, I also informed myself a bit about Dev and the crew. And he actually stopped talking to Arch Warhammer with Rex, or no, Rex went with him, with Sargon and Arch Warhammer because he thinks that they are incorrect. And I'm gonna be honest, I know, or at least the thing that they claim on the internet, it's more acclaimed to me than not. So, I think I dislike Dev more and more and more and more. And if this is true, just write him off. Instantly comes in as a bully. I don't care if he did it, if he bullied someone or not. Right now, if he does this, if he believes in this, and we have a pretty good track record of people who believe in communism, that they are not the mentally most stable people, or, nicest people, then yeah, let's just assume the most realistic thing. But let's...
Hello everyone, Ace here, and today let's talk about how Short Fat Otaku, aka Dev, has decided that he now wants to give communism one more chance. Why? Well, because a candidate who happens to be a communist managed to win the Democratic primary for the mayor of New York City. And Dev has decided to take up the position that he does not judge people for stuff that they haven't done yet.
The thing is, I informed myself about this guy. I absolutely dislike his side, and I would never support him. What I like is how he goes about it. Because he goes about it like a strong leader, or, a bit, if I may say, like Trump about the entire thing. So why I like the way he goes about the entire thing, I don't like his ideas. But I cannot... by the way, acolytes, I wouldn't even... if I could, I wouldn't pick him. Simple as that. Because he's in the Democratic Party, we know what they did, and I just would definitively not do it. But I can't. So, there's that. As I said, there is a Zwiespalt here. For me, at least. Yeah.
But I am getting a bit ahead of myself, so let's actually look at the conversation in full. As Phil Labonte states, quote, "I've been saying there is a massive communist problem in the Democratic Party and the United States more broadly." To which unassuming Apple, I assume, replies by tweeting, quote, "At Sleepy Devo, so is the left worse again now, or do we have to wait until they start mass murdering people before you admit you were wrong?" To which Dev responds by stating, quote, "Remember when I prejudged Trump and didn't wait until he actually did something bad before complaining? Oh wait, you should have the same standard here." Now, as you could probably tell by the number of comments as opposed to the number of likes, that this particular response didn't exactly go over very well for Dev. And indeed, he had numerous people calling him out on his own blatant hypocrisy here, as well as his blatant dishonesty. Perhaps the best reply being from Tomato Saucer, who responded by stating, quote, "Dude, you literally did this yesterday," providing screenshots of Dev openly condemning.
By the way, if you ever want to shoot a holding Trump accountable, don't impeach him. If you impeach him, once becomes president. Once is far more dangerous than Trump. And he will pardon Trump for all his crimes. Yeah, fuck him, it's already...
Condemning JD Vance as a wannabe tyrant and judging him as such, but then immediately going on to admit that it's not over any actions that JD Vance has personally.
Neither read his book, plus the books of people he cited as influenced Trump is just a self-inserted retard who is allowed to, will plump his way into dictatorship because he likes the idea of a big golden statue. Vance actually has the making of a true tyrant in him. I'm gonna be honest here. While I don't like the methods of Trump, I may not even be a gigantic fan of Trump, he's effective. And it's definitively better than what was before. Especially if I think about you just had a fucking potato in the last run. Having a potato sitting in one of the most powerful fucking places in the world isn't the best idea.
Done. Dev at this point tries to save face by responding with, quote, yes, we have examples of Trump and Vance doing bad shit while in power. This guy probably will too. But I will reserve judgment until he actually does. To which Tomato Saucer responds by stating, quote, no, you prejudged Vance as evil and assumed he would do evil things because of people he agrees with. You literally say in that tweet that Vance didn't do anything for you to make that judgment. And of course, Tomato Saucer is once again completely correct on this. For the Dev defenders in the audience who are going to ask for the exact point where Dev made this argument, and then proceed to ignore any and all proof I provide, here's that proof anyways, just to further demonstrate how blatantly dishonest Dev defenders are at this stage.
Good. By the way, Ace, you have to do it. You just have to.
Answer asked, quote, okay, so did Vance do something or did he just exist near Trump and that's enough for your leftoid friends to consider him Goebbels? Dev responded firstly with a sentence that was one word. Neither. Meaning it was not the actions of J.D. Vance, nor was it his proximity to Trump that was cause for Dev's condemnation, by Dev's own admission. He was in fact prejudging J.D. Vance to be evil, despite his then open admission as to his inability to cite any particular actions of J.D. Vance as proof that he's going to be a tyrant. You know, that exact same standard that Dev insists on trying to enforce on others before they can decide that trying communism again is perhaps a bad idea. And that leads me to one of the other big critiques. Because as an unassuming Apple points out, quote, again, your opinion is that we should give communism just one more try. And unassuming Apple is 100% correct in his critique here. Because Dev is asking us to give communism just one more try. Because how do we know it's going to fail this time? You know, despite there being a 0% success rate, according to the communists themselves. How do we know that?
No, I don't think that's entirely true. Sweden has endless oil rigs. They are, I think, communist. So there is, or they claim to be communist or something like that. Okay, half-Brit information here, but so the only positive thing is one, maybe. Yeah, no, with high probability it won't work.
That this candidate isn't going to support or do some really messed up things. You know, despite the fact that literally every single communist politician in history has supported and did messed up things. To the tune that communists will try to frequently argue that all of those past examples throughout history, well, those weren't real communism. Those were just state capitalism, you see. And thus essentially argue that every communist regime in history was run by...
I hate this argument. Just own it. You believe in a freaking system that's just tyrannical, wants to slaughter people without any end. Just admit it. Admit that you... I mean, at the end of the day, acolytes, the idea of actually being fair to everyone or giving them work or something like that or distributing the wealth between each other is quite nice. It is a good idea, I think at least. But it doesn't work. And most of it's human nature. People want more. Some people want more than others. And then you have someone who distributes the things, and well, 100% of the time, they want everything. So everybody else gets less. Yeah, it just doesn't work. Simple as that.
Capitalist scammers, using the ideology to further exploit the poor, which is amusing because that happens to be the exact same critique that Adolf Hitler provided towards communism. Yes, we're at the stage where communists unironically think that Hitler was right about communism. That is how hard modern far leftists have to cope to try to ignore the consistent and spectacular failure of communism as an ideology. And yet, here is Dev just openly going, let's just give communism one more chance. What's the worst that could possibly happen? At least communism isn't Trump, bro. So that's where we are now with Dev on the anti-Trump train, actively defending communism because at least it's against Trump. And oh sure, Dev is going to try to use the argument, but he has critiqued the left in the past. Well yeah, sure, so has Vosh critiqued the left in the past. But Dev has people on the left calling him a fascist and people on the right calling him a communist, so clearly he must be a centrist. Well, Vosh also has people on the left calling him a fascist and people on the right calling him a communist. So Vosh too must be a centrist by Dev logic. There is no reasonable defense for Dev taking up the position that we should give communism one more chance. It is certainly proof that Dev is not the centrist he claims to be. No legitimate centrist could look at communism and take up the position that at least communism isn't as bad as Trump. But that is a position that Dev has decided to take.
Gonna be honest.
Because of people.
Fair enough. This is just one more for F's sake. This is disgusting. I mean, how the fuck can you just say that you don't want someone out of pure fucking spite? I don't care about if I like a person or not. I only care about the fact, if they do their job or not. If they actually steer something in a positive way. Not something like this pity bollocks. Honestly. What the fuck is wrong with Dev? I mean, years ago, I actually just heard him out and he was more of a centrist at that point. But right now, he's just going on the deep end. But okay, fair enough. As it is, acolytes, good night.